Welcome to the Blunt Lab. I am Al. This is Marcus. We are welcoming Rick, Sean, and Gabe. What's going on, fellas?
Come on, brothers.
All right.
Hello, wonderful people.
Well, this is going to be our horror movie episode. We kind of covered a little bit on it. We touched on it in the slasher episode, but not too much. But in this episode, we're going to touch on it a lot. So we'll be doing top 5 horror movies, and I asked you guys before coming on if anybody had like a scary story or a spooky story. I believe Rick is the only one, along with Sean's in the story as well, so it's Rick and Sean. And I've got a few, maybe, so we'll see how that works out. So starting with top 5s, I'm going to pass it on to Marcus first.
Oh man,
Brother,
actually,
are you not ready?
I need a second to keep thinking about it. So
I'll let somebody else go first.
All right, Gabe, you're up, brother.
All right.
Top 5 horror movies, and along with your top 5, I want to know which one of those terrified you or scared you the most.
All right.
And remember, guys, I have to stay away from the slasher movies, straight horror.
All right. Well, this is no particular order. The Exorcism, the original.
Exorcist?
Yeah.
classic.
The original one. Jeepers Creepers. I don't know if you guys heard of that one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know you said stay away from slasher movies, but Nightmare on Elm Street, man, is like one of my top scary ones.
That totes the line. It totes the line.
It's a horror movie, I think. Well,
Paranormal Activity.
Really? Okay.
I know it's a few of them, but I mean that whole.
We'll say the series.
And 13 Ghosts.
13 Ghosts is a great one. 13 Ghosts is good, yeah.
It's a fun one, if nothing else.
That's one I'll always own.
Oh,
We watch it often.
All of them actually. What scares me is you can't kill these things in a normal fashion. You can't kill them with a gun or with a baseball bat. You know what I'm saying? This is supernatural, and that's
Supernatural.
bottom line. That's what scares me.
Boy.
So pretty much all of them then.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. All of them, like
Sure.
spirits, evil spirits, like 13 Ghosts, bro. Like, I don't know about you, but I don't want to be meeting the Juggernaut, in a dark alley or something. You know what I'm saying?
Hell
I will say this about that.
Jackals,
I will say this about that. I agree with you in not wanting to see those kind of ghosts, but those kind of ghosts are essentially, I don't want to say non-existent. They kind of portray them to be violent, and it's really, ghosts can't do that. Demons can, ghosts can't.
Yeah, so there's a difference between a spirit and a demon. Yeah.
They could very well be demons as well. I mean, they portrayed us as ghosts in that movie, but I don't know. Supernatural is what bugs me out.
Oh, most certainly. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more.
I respect that.
What about you, Sean?
You're stuck. I mean,
oh, you're fucked.
Agree.
Absolutely fucked.
He's got some good ones on that list for different reasons. I mean, like 13 Ghosts is fantastic. Not gonna win any awards, but just a fun friggin' movie. Matthew Lillard.
Matthew Lillard, and it's got Matthew Lillard in it.
Guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Shannon Elizabeth. Come on.
Oh yeah, Shannon Elizabeth.
Need not be good.
I wouldn't mind seeing like an origin story of the 13 Ghosts.
They've been
You know what I'm
talking
saying?
about
Our
doing one,
series is
actually.
coming out on that. Yeah, series.
I don't know what streaming service, but they have talked about it coming out probably on Netflix. They greenlight
Netflix,
it.
probably, yeah.
But yeah, they've talked about doing a series, and it's supposed to be an hour devoted to each one of the Black Zodiac. So that would be really cool, as long as they don't make it too cheesy. So yeah, if they revisit and they do it well, but yeah, I hope they wait for the right script. They better wait for the right script.
I'll get nightmares all over again. That'd be great.
There you go. But no, I like what you said as well. Like, these things can't be killed, especially like in 13 Ghosts. 13 Ghosts, you literally see these guys walk away and kind of dip off once the house. You have spoiler alert.
Right.
Once everything kind of goes to shit. Yeah, they disappear off into the world.
Once you disrupt the
them,
spell, you can disperse with them.
Yeah, and I like what you said as well. You know, call it demons, call it ghosts, and they're in that specific story. They call them ghosts, but with as little as we know about both, you really could insert any role. You know. That being said, my top 5, I'm gonna go with the classic, and I know that it gets a little murdery, but it's definitely horror first. It was terrifying for everybody and their mothers, and for generations. We're still scared of clowns.
You going original with that? The original or the new stuff with Skarsgård?
Yes. And I'll tell you, I like this Skarsgård guy, the young brother. He's fantastic. He's incredible.
He's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
He's great in everything, and he's a terrifying Pennywise. But he's no Tim Curry. Tim Curry set that role up, and he was scary enough to do nothing else beyond that. Like, he's good. He's golden.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. They float. And when you're down here, you float too!
And imagine this. That was scary, and it was a TV series. It wasn't even a movie.
That's right. They
filmed
turned
a
it
movie.
into a movie later, didn't they? Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bill is incredible. He does a great job with it, and if anybody is able to redo that, it's him. He did fantastic. But
yes,
I mean, Tim Curry is Tim Curry, and he's in he's amazing in the role. So let's not take that from him either. And second, The Thing, John Carpenter's. I think they redid that one, but the original The Thing. Was not only terrifying in like a mental kind of way, but that was one of those movies where gore mattered. Like, that was gross. Like, that shit gross. But it was well done. It was just terrifying. Just like that whole thing that you truly don't understand, that summed it up. And you're just like, it had everything. It screamed, what the fuck? It was awesome. Pet Sematary was the original. And we could talk about the new one. You want to at some point?
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah.
Yeah, we all watched it. We can...
That's new. But the original was incredible.
Again. Never get out of bed again. Never get out of bed again. Never get out of bed again.
That one was great. It leaps and bounds from the book. We've talked about that as well. But still a fantastic movie, a terrifying movie, and one that I definitely didn't. I mean, I was like 10, granted, but I did walk out of it. Didn't make it through that sitting. So I've gone back since then and watched it. But speaking of movies that I've walked out of, we've talked about this. You and I have talked about this. But the movie Leviathan from the late 80s, undersea.
I'm going to check that out since you mentioned it. I have to check it out.
I mean, give me your take on it. I want to know.
Check it out too.
There's other movies that I saw, like, I watched Ghoulies when I was a kid, and I was like, going back and watching it, Ghoulies is great. But yeah, Leviathan terrified me. I left the movie theater. You guys asked me how it ends. I still don't know. I haven't gone back. Yeah, it's a scary ass movie though. And then one that I just put on here because it's not by any means the scariest movie that I've ever seen, but I feel like it goes under horror movie, and it's just a cool fucking movie, and it definitely deserves mention. From Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh,
yeah.
Good shit.
Oh,
It's a great,
that's good.
It's a great take
That's
on a
good
vampire
shit.
movie, and you don't even know it's a vampire movie until about 45 minutes into the son of a bitch. It's fantastic.
Well, and it
That's
had
true.
a great
Yeah.
cast. That was an
Yeah,
all-star
it did.
cast
Great
as far as
cast.
I'm
Great
concerned.
cast.
There was
Great.
one with
Watch the series too.
Thelma
Series
Oh, the
is-
series was phenomenal.
I haven't
Yeah,
seen the
I really
series, but I've
enjoyed it.
heard that it's very, very good. And that entire first
I know I've
season,
pushed it on
it's
you
like,
a few times. And, yeah.
I just haven't been able to. What was it on? It was on.
It's on Netflix currently.
Netflix.
Yeah.
I'll say
That's
this
why,
about the
yeah.
series. The guy who played Fez on that 70s show,
Yeah, Wilmer. He's
Wilmer.
the head of the cartel there. Yeah.
you get to see his range from being the clown on that 70s
Absolutely.
show to what he does in this show. So yes,
Absolutely.
From
That's
Dust Till
Always
Dawn
been one
is
of my testaments to that series. For
From
sure.
Dust Till
Well, yeah,
Dawn
no,
is a good movie.
It's unfortunate that great actors like that get pigeonholed into something because they've done it for so long, especially a role like that really like kind of makes you. You get stuck
Yeah.
playing it. So when you're able to break out of that, I'm happy for anybody that can do that. That's great.
As am I. As am I.
Well, sure.
As am I. So out of that 5, which one terrified you the most?
Out of those 5, I gotta go with Leviathan. I mean, like, I walked
See,
out.
I have to watch this shit, man. I have to watch
I mean,
this.
like, look, like I said, it was a long time ago. I was younger, admittedly, but I know when I was watching that screen and everything that happened, whatever led up to it, I was just watching and I was like, okay, yep, nope, we're done. And I got up and I left. So at some point, it got to, and not many movies had done that. No other movies had done that prior to that.
Wow.
So yeah, go back, give it a watch, and let me know. Maybe it's just, maybe it didn't stand up to the test of time. I don't know. But I was terrible.
Slick Rick.
The ruler. Listen, here's my thing with horror movies. Growing up, it was my genre of choice. I didn't like cartoons as a kid. I watched wrestling, kung fu, and horror movies. Like that was me as a jit. You know what I mean? And sports. I was really into sports. So that said, my list is going to be a little bit different because it's not always the most scariest that I thought were the best horror movies. So at number 5, this is one that Gabe said, is Jeepers Creepers. The Jeepers Creepers series to me was a good horror movie. It didn't really get too cheesy at times where it really could have. I'm looking forward to this new one that they're making.
The third one was cheesy. The third one was kind of.
That's what
what
I was
I've
just gonna touch on the third one. It started getting a little. I like the evolution of him as a creature.
Yes.
throughout. And the first one was definitely like jump out scare, and you didn't get to see him a lot. I think it was probably because of the money situation, so it made it a little more scarier. And I really like Justin Long in it. You know what I mean? It's a good flick.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I liked Jeepers Creepers. Good horror movie for me. Yeah, I would say, and I really don't have too much of an order. I have more of what my favorite is from each kind of horror movies. I think is probably a better way to describe mine. The next one I'm going to say is Trailer Park of Terror. It is by far one of the ones that freaked me out. Like all South Parks are way the fuck out there. But the South Park episode where Paris Hilton had the whore off with Mr. Slave was just like an extra kind of fucked up. And Trailer Park of Terror is right on that level. It's just, I don't have any of y'all seen it?
No, I haven't.
No.
So I don't want to I won't give too much of the spoiler, but the premise to it is this an entity owns a trailer park, and the people that get close by get baited in and go through all kind of everything you would think of in a trailer park. You know what I mean? It's fucking great, and it's fucking. It's definitely on the scarier side. I don't know if these really count as slasher or not, but I loved Scary Movie. Although it wasn't scary for me, the kids that I watched with, it absolutely still scared them. But the fact that it was a horror movie that
Comedy horror,
had
of course.
it had a lot of comedy still too, and still stayed with horror. Because listen, like, yeah, you know, you there's some other ones to compare it to, like Shaun of the Dead and maybe like Club Dread and stuff, where there is some
Club
legit
Dread.
like killing with the comedy. But
I
most
love
of the
that movie.
time,
Well,
Friends fucking amazing.
It's great, man. I love those guys. Broken Lizard. We can talk about
It made me
guys.
what it made that movie right there. I told my wife if we have a daughter, we're gonna name her Pinalo.
Oh, that is a beautiful name. Pinalo. Pinalo. It's breathtaking.
Pinalo. A nice name.
That's awesome.
She looked at me.
That's
She was
awesome.
like, "What the fuck is that?" I'm like, you know what it is.
Now, the
But go
ones that
ahead.
absolutely have scared me are ones that are psychological in nature. Okay, so if I was going to, I guess say the one that scared me the most at the same time as changed my whole perspective on what I saw in a horror movie was Event Horizon.
Okay.
Your beautiful ship killed its crew, Doctor.
Wow.
Now she has another crew.
For sure. And the reason was it was the first time that I really felt personally like not just scared by the possibilities that were introduced to me by that movie. You know what I mean? It was the first time where I really saw with some good Hollywood production, if you will, it's a good cast. It introduced the whole the killer is us. You know what I mean? Like whatever they experience, it turns them into the killer. Like the whole and this is the other one that I'm gonna put in there. I know Sean will probably trip out on me, but fucking Blair Witch. And it was the same premise.
Look,
because
when
there
Blair
wasn't
Witch
like there
first
was a,
came out, we didn't
That's what
know
I'm
that they were
getting at.
playing this. Yeah.
Well, that was just it. And, you know, again, us being here in Orlando, you know, living in the UCF area, and there was a little connection there. Sean worked at the movie theater at the time when it come out. We had some friends go and see it, like when it first come out, and then we went a couple of days later. And we were sort of put under this premise that it was more real than we thought. Sean knew a little more than I did because he worked at the theater at the time. But when I went in, I legitimately, the first time when I watched it, thought it was actual footage.
I was like, yeah, for real.
So putting that spin on it, thinking that it was real the first time, I was like, what the fuck? But then when you watch have you watched the other Blair Witch stories, Blair Witch 2, which was Book of Shadows, and then the third one was more of a revisiting with the family members.
Movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here's the deal. Here's the deal to me with it. It's not the quality of the movie. The answer here is the type of horror movie that scares me. And it's when those scenarios occur. Like I'm more scared of us guys all going out in the woods one time to go camping and get fucked up, and then some spirit in that fucking woods turn us all on each other and some wild shit starts happening and they're doing ceremonies with our body. Way more than I am Jason or Michael fucking chasing me. You understand what I'm saying? Because we talk about all the time.
That's why movies like Deliverance have such impact.
Deliverance,
because, like, that's
I almost
people.
put Deliverance on my goddamn list, but I didn't really make it a horror
Yeah.
movie. But I really wanted to put it on the list.
Horror, but
The shit like that. Like I'm more worried about like the hillbillies in the woods than a ghost. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
absolutely,
that's
man.
type
You gotta
of
put
shit,
it out.
you know? Because you
There's
got
a lot of inbreeding. A lot of inbreeding was done in the woods, so
Oh
I'm
fuck
scared
yeah,
of that
bro!
motherfucker too.
I've been around the
When you
mountains.
mention that kind of shit, movies like Wrong Turn, The Hills Have Eyes,
House,
I was
those
gonna say,
kind of movies.
Hills Have Eyes,
movies
yeah.
are disturbing. Yeah, I mean, and that's the
Disturbing.
thing. Like when you go back and I mean, that's all people. That's all people at their primal nature, doing what people do when left to do what they can get to doing. You know, and that's pretty dark.
And
It's a survival instinct, pretty much.
yeah, and to go back to Event Horizon, Rick. Sometimes when we're shown our true nature, we can't handle it.
Yep.
So the only thing left to do is to do what they did.
That's correct.
You know?
You talk about it often. You talk about it often when we touch on like, you know, how we'd react and act in apocalyptic situations and zombie situations and stuff like that. And yeah, man, it nails it on the head. And a lot of horror movies seem to pull us back to that too. Like you get like sort of a represented mind state within each character, like a stereotype, especially like the Nightmare on Elm Street series was just amazing at that. And that's why it kind of toes the line on, because yeah, there is a slasher guy who's involved with it, but it really is really more psychological, especially when you throw in the dream side of it.
Yeah, I
It's
consider
definitely
it
a
like
mental thing.
No, that's what I was thinking.
I consider Nightmare on Elm Street like sci-fi horror
What I'm saying,
Yeah,
isn't that
definitely.
horror though? I mean, even if it's a slasher movie, it's still kind of.
Yes.
It's like
I would
slasher's
say
like a
more just because of the
subgenre.
mental effect. I mean, there is a lot of
Yeah.
mental.
Yeah.
I mean, any of those movies, like when you talk about any of these movies where it's not them battling on a physical plane and it gets inside their head, Freddy's very much that. You know, it's not so
Oh
much.
shoot!
No, he doesn't butcher you in
No.
life. Like, he's not coming at you, beating you with a baseball bat. He's literally fucking you up in your dream, and that
Yeah.
exists in the
Yeah.
reality because of what your brain does to your body.
That's
So,
right.
I
Yep.
mean,
Yep.
that it definitely psychological more so than physical on that.
That's
And if you
facts.
think
And
about it,
Freddy and Jason.
Nightmare on Elm Street was the Matrix before the Matrix.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
You know, say that it's a level of reality. I remember Freddy versus Jason in the movie theater very, very vividly, and I remember worrying that Freddy was gonna come through the fucking exit door and shit if I fell asleep in the theater.
And I think that movie did come out in 3D.
I just
I
watched
was
that
one of the
recently.
first ones. Jason X was in 3D too, if I remember right.
I just watched
Yeah,
Freddy
it's-
versus Jason recently.
I did
I
too.
like the movie,
I did
man.
too.
I mean,
It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
Now, I
Which
know
one?
the other guys. Now, out of that top five, you would say Event Horizon scared you the most, Rick?
Yes, because again, it goes back to it's not so much that it's scared. The things when I was a kid probably scared me more, but it scared me the most because it was the first time as an adult I was scared.
Now, I know I asked Gabe and Marcus and these guys if they have witnessed or had anything horrific or terrifying happen to them. They couldn't think of anything off the top of your head. You said you might have something. If you wanted to share this way, we can give Brother Marcus a little bit more time to work in his top five.
Yeah, I could do that. I could do that. You know, over the years, you know, I was a Boy Scout, avid camper. We did a lot of. Sean can attest to this, even though he's sideways right now. Sean can attest to. We would go on a lot of the late night
I feel like we
adventures
were in
in
Inception. I'm
groups.
sorry, but go ahead.
That's right, in Inception. We did a lot of late night adventures, you know, as a lot of entry level, and we were kids, you know, I mean, like late teens, early 20s. We would do a lot of the get off late in the middle of the night type of shit because we closed up places, and we would all meet up and go and do stuff. Like we would go to like Lou Gardens in the middle of the night and sneak in. We'd go to the beach and drop acid. We did all kinds of wild shit over the time period. And allegedly. And it's in the book. So over this time period, I met someone who grew to be a very close friend of mine. And he was if you're familiar with the practice of Santeria, he's a Santo priest. Okay. And he was, not only was he a good friend, he was also my next door neighbor. We both had 5 acres each, and they were right next to each other, connected. So, you know, like we made a gate between us and stuff. We got close. If you know anything about Santeria, the practicers, especially someone who's a priest, they have a whole room that's like a shrine. And it, you know, and without getting too deep into the religion itself, it's saints. The reason it's saints is they were actually, it origins from voodoo. All right, which is, you know, of course, you know, is the oldest. When those slaves came over on the boats, they weren't allowed to practice the voodoo religion, obviously. They were forced to practice Catholicism. So what they did was they took saints and they embodied their spirits that they worshipped or that they dealt with, is really more what it is, and they embodied them into those saints, and that's why it's called Santeria. There's your quick backstory. So with that said, you see all these things in their shrines that their saints are represented by. And the way that saints or spirits work is really what it is. We're talking about ghosts and we're talking about spirits, that freaky ass shit. Some souls, when we go to cross over, don't cross over, right? The way this has been explained to me is some just either A, they have unfinished business here, which gets represented in stories a lot. Oftentimes they're meant to be here on a spirit level to work. Like they have a mission, they have missions here, which so often is represented in stories that we'll look at as sort of fictional. So a couple of different events happened when I was really close with this person, and of all of the different religions and whatnots out there, this is definitely one that I saw personal evidence of. You can't tell me that spirits don't exist. You can't tell me that people that know how to work with them don't work with them. And a lot of the people that we look at to be as like celebrities and people who have made it definitely work with spirits to get there. You deal with that what you will. So what they do is like they set up, like some of them like tobacco and they like alcohol and they like weed and they like different things, right? So,
offerings. They're basically
they're
offerings.
Yeah, so they set them up with the candles, and when you do that, then the spirits are more inclined to do shit for you. So me and him and my ex were headed to the beach one day. It was a Labor Day. He was sitting in the back seat behind me. I'm in the passenger seat. She's sitting in the driver's seat. We make it into Cocoa Beach, allegedly. A cop gets right behind us, goes to start pulling us over. She kind of panics a little bit, right? The registration's 2 months out. And she kind of panics a little bit. And he's like, yo, why didn't you tell me when the cop got behind us? And she's like, I don't know. I'm freaking out. I'm telling you he's there now. He took the 2 blunts aloud that he had and he crushed them up. And he kind of like halfway stuffed them underneath the bench seat that's in the back, and the rest of it hit the floor. So it was on the floor, stuffed underneath the thing, smelled high, real strong, and they're real loud as fuck, right? And he starts doing prayer thing. I don't even want to pretend like I knew what the fuck he was saying. But he did this chanting till the cop made it to the door. Cop asks for the credentials. Tells us all to get out of the car. It smells like weed in the car. Has us line up on the wall. He's still over there doing the prayers. Cop sits down in the driver's seat. Sits there for like 10 minutes, searching everything. Doesn't find shit. Gets in my side, searching everything. Doesn't find shit. Gets into the seat behind me where he was sitting. As soon as this cop sat down where my friend was sitting, the cop's head violently shook. Real fast like this. Stood up, got out of the car, walked right over to my ex, handed her the paperwork and said, y'all leave right now.
Oh, shit.
And just made us leave as soon as he got there. Gives me goosebumps again thinking about it, right? That's wild shit. And another time I'll wrap it up. It's the same sort of Santeria situation. I was sitting in his studio. We made music together, right? And I was sitting in the studio. In order to get from his main living area to the studio, you had to walk through his shrine room, right? So I was in there chilling. We got these girls in there, right? Homegirl says, I got to go to the bathroom, right? Asks her friend something, gets it out of the purse. She was getting a tampon, right? She gets up, she walks, goes through the shrine room. All of a sudden you hear this high-pitched fucking scream. And she comes running back and clawed onto me like a cat and would not let the fuck go. He says, what did you see? What happened? So I went into the room. This is what she says. I see a little black boy who looked like a cherub, right? He had wings and like some shit over his head like this. And he got in my face and went boo. Right? Walks over to one of his books, brings the Santo book over.
No, bro.
Starts flipping through the book, just like this, blah, 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 blah. Holds the book up to us just like this. Girl's looking at it. You could see it in her eyes right there. This little boy right here looked just like the description. He's attracted to blood and he likes to play pranks. And that's the main little description. Right. But the fact that she don't know nothing about nothing, and that's what she saw, comes back and describes it. And as soon as he describes it, and the whole thing plays out, like she had just started bleeding, like while she was sitting in there. You understand? And that's why she asked a friend for the tampon, the whole 9, dog. So like, that shit is real as fuck, and it definitely will scare the shit out of you when it happens. And it's ever since then, I don't try nothing. I won't try nobody if they're into spirits.
I'm scared just listening to it.
What do you do with that?
Shit.
Know that it's real.
Nah, man.
Know that it's real, and know that it. Understand it to the abilities that you can. I read a lot up on it.
And if it's your thing, man, I mean, look at it like this, dude. There's a lot
at the very least, you restrict it.
Well, right. And here's the thing. There's a lot of cultures other than what we are. Look, in this country, we're majority Christian, right? You know, I mean, at the end of the day, from our time past, we're still conditioned to live Judeo-Christian ethics, whatever, whatnot. So it still has its hold. So I will say, prior to that being the case, most people, most religions, most things knew of these things. I mean, even if you look at the Aztecs and the old and ancient Mexicans, they worshiped their ancestors in Day of the Dead. They harken back to their ancestors, and that's what the shaman of every culture do, is they look to their ancestors for guidance and to teach them. And, we're really one of the very first. I mean, it's relatively a new religion that we are in, or that we are predominantly in. And that is one of the very first that doesn't revere the dead like everybody else did. So, I mean, at the end of the day, there's a lot to think about when unwrapping that kind of shit. I grew up not really knowing what to believe. We didn't really go to church or anything. We weren't taught what to believe. Parents were pretty hands-off with the spiritual thing altogether. Just kind of let us figure it out, which has been nice because we weren't conditioned one way or another down any path. So it's been very open. So, I mean, I've traipsed down a lot of fucking paths. But I will say, when I was 3 or 4, before I could even get into this shit, I remember in California, the weirdest shit that ever happened. This is what happened to me. I remember when I was in California growing up as a child, I would always feel like I was being watched, and there was something always particularly like looking over me. I thought maybe I was weird, I was younger. But I remember one night in particular, it was maybe 4 or 5, I sat bolt upright in my bed and I looked straight ahead. My closet doors were dead ahead, dead center right in front of my bed. And I watched them open and then shut as I sat up, and I was like, what the hell? So I laid back down, covered my head, didn't think, I didn't want to even bother with it. Like, it was like a dream almost. So I saw that happen, and, I was like, all right, cool. So I covered my head. Years and years and years went on. I never told anybody about this, not a single person, not a living person, nobody. And after my father passed away, my dad passed away when I was 13. So I was talking to my mom that night that we found out the priest had come over and kind of let us know and everything. And I was talking to my mom, and she said something about, well, he'll always be there. You know that, right? And I was like, yeah, I believe that. Do you believe that? And she's like, yeah, I really do. And then she went further and told me that she always believed that when I was growing up, that her father, who had passed away before I was born, my grandfather, watched over me as a guardian spirit. And that guardian spirit resided in my closet at that house. That's where he lived. That's where she felt his presence. I had never told her about the closet opening and closing on several occasions. But when she said that shit, I told her what happened, and I could see the tears in her eyes. She was absolutely serious, and so was I. That shit was wild, bro.
Damn. Jeez, man. Jeez. Whew.
Wow.
Now, Marcus.
Oh, wow.
How you gonna top that, bro?
Oh, I don't have a story. I just do my top 5. I don't have a story. I mean, Sean said it earlier. It has to be on the list. And I'll just answer the question, like, it would probably be the one that scared me the most, because I was probably about 4 or 5 watching that movie to this day. Hate clowns. Tim Curry is awesome. Love the new ones too, but Tim Curry is, he's the GOAT.
Tim Curry is the man.
Yeah.
Tim Curry is the man.
Legend, it should be a good.
Yeah, definitely a legend. I got
If
the
Legend
Ring.
was a horror movie, I would be on there like a motherfucker.
I got Get Out.
Paying tribute to the new ones. I like that.
Yeah, like Get Out is dope, man. Especially like
I like Jordan Peele in general. He's
It's my favorite Peele flick so far.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like,
That
Us
is
was
Us.
cool. Like Us was cool, but Get Out was like
I like the Us. Us was wild.
They're all good. I would say Dawn of the Dead. I want to pay tribute to the original, but the newer one, just the first 20 minutes, like how uncomfortable that movie was. Like the first 20, 25 minutes, like
Take
I'm
it
always
away
nervous the
from it
Necronomicon
being,
is getting played.
Yeah. How many is that? 4? That 3, 4? And then I'd say, I don't want to, I know it's kind of a slasher, but I would throw the original Halloween in there, just for what it was, what it did for horror. You know?
Sure. That's classic.
So, yeah, those would be my 5.
I won't argue that. I won't argue with you there.
But Get Out is the
You
one,
said
the newer one that's That shit's crazy. Because I mean, there's been movies like that, like the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, like something to that degree, but nothing like what that movie was, though. You know, like especially for that time, and like you know, the racial undertone of the country and everything. Like that was a really smart movie.
They definitely took an idea that's been used and they gave it a fine point and drove home a point. So yeah, they definitely personalized that story.
Definitely.
Absolutely. I like that list. I respect that. Very much. Now for me, go ahead. What were you going to say, Rick, before I go into it?
I was going to just throw something in there, and maybe it'll influence in where you're going to, maybe with yours. For me, it's like a by the decades thing. Like the 80s horror, the late 70s and 80s horror, like it's not good. Any of it. It's fucking terrible. But at the same time, when I was a kid, when we were kids, that was the horror that was available, and it was fucking amazing then. But it's like you said, Sean, in the beginning, like time pad. Like if I go back and watch Leviathan now, I might laugh the whole time and not walk out. Not only would I not walk out, I might laugh. You understand? So with that said, I experienced that with the older stuff a lot. Like Stephen King shit is fucking terrible, but it was awesome back then.
And folks need to remember too, all jokes aside, 70s, 80s, and 90s, most of those scripts and movies were made on cocaine.
Yeah.
Everybody was fucked up on cocaine.
At the very least. They were good for its time, though. They were good for its time.
That's a really good point.
They did what they did with what they had.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Good with a head full of cocaine.
Yes, absolutely. Every last one.
Have you ever watched it?
Every last one.
Bro, I've watched movies on one night and I've watched them the next day, and it's a whole nother fucking movie. So I get that completely.
That's true.
Now for me, I'm going to remove, because I had two of them that I was like in between with the number 5. I'm going to take those two out. Those two was the Insidious series and the Conjuring series. I was going to have those, one of those is going to be, I didn't know which one to make my number 5. So, but I'm going to scratch those two out, put them to the side. Number 5 for me is going to be Ghost Ship.
Good flag.
I like it.
Forget about Ghost Ship. That's a good one. Yeah,
Ghost Ship.
Classic. Yeah, that's cool.
And then going up, The Sixth Sense.
Something up there? I don't see anything.
You ever feel the prickly things on the back of your neck?
Yes.
And the tiny hairs on your arm, when they stand up.
Yes.
That's them.
Of course. Of course.
The Exorcist, the first one, of course. And number 2, The Serpent in the Rainbow.
I want to hear you scream.
Hear me scream.
Not good enough.
I haven't seen it. I wanted to put that on my list because I've heard only good things, and it's a fucking cult classic. I want to put it on my list, but I haven't seen it. I don't deserve to put it on my list.
Oh, you should definitely check it out. And number 1, of course, we've mentioned it, is It. Now, the reason why movies like Serpent in the Rainbow, The Sixth Sense, and, of course, I had the Insidious, is from the time that I was a child, I used to have, I guess what most would consider night terrors. But it wasn't primarily from nightmares. It was from what I was seeing whenever I would open my eyes.
Yeah.
And whatever I was seeing, they weren't the living. Now, granted, they weren't being harmful, but when you're not expecting something to be in your face, is in your face at that age and you can't explain it, that fucking scares the shit out of you. Now, I never did anything to communicate with any of them, so I never knew what any of them wanted. Never wanted it. Now, I've never said this out in the open, but as a child, I used to wet the bed. Sometimes it would be from that common dream we'd all have. You're at the bathroom, you're taking a piss that feels great, But here you are pissing in the bed. But for the most part, it was what was scaring me when I was awake. Fast forward, Serpent in the Rainbow. This movie kind of takes place in Haiti. It has to do with voodoo. I'm glad you touched on the Santeria stuff, because with voodoo stuff, I'm quite familiar with. Voodoo, magic, call it whatever you want. Respect it. I would not disrespect it. I'll tell you a story. I was maybe 14 or 15 years old. This was probably like the third time I was living in Haiti. At this particular time, like, the house that I lived in was humongous, a huge property. So what we did is we allowed the merchants to store whatever they were selling during the day in a particular part of our house in a storeroom. Now, if my dad was away, grandpa was away, I was the one left in charge of the house. We had maids and I had my younger siblings. So one day, one of the merchants, I'm out back with the maids and the siblings shooting the shit. And I hear somebody coming in and out of the gate without acknowledging anybody in the house. So I go up front, see it's this lady who, she's one of the merchants out front. So I respectfully ask, why didn't you let one of us know, but in particular me, why didn't you let me know you were coming into the house? You need to let yourself be known before coming into the house. So because she was an adult and I was a teenager, they call me Whitey in Haiti too. She said a few words, and of course, I'm a hothead. Anyone that knows me knows I'm a fucking hothead. I'm respectful until you make me hot. I was respectful at first, then she made me hot by calling me a punk-ass kid, whatever the fuck it was. So I called her every filthy name in the book. This bitch slaps the shit out of me. Okay? So we've all heard me say, if you put hands on me, I'm going to put hands on you. Now, the way the house is positioned, we're like pretty much the top of the hill, and there's a long driveway down. So I started whooping her ass from the top of the hill all the way down into the street. Okay? That afternoon, I'm laying in bed because I didn't feel well. And then at some point, I literally couldn't move. I'm literally laying down. I can't move for nothing. I start to feel nauseous. I tell my dad, hey, look, I can't move. I feel sick. My dad has to carry me to the bathroom.
What?
Now, before this happens, I'm at 170 pounds. My dad has to carry me to the bathroom. I'm vomiting from both ends non-stop. Non-stop. I can't, and mind you, my body is literally frozen. I can't do nothing but just sit there. So, as Rick was mentioning earlier with the Santeria stuff, people who practice voodoo do have shrines as well. You'll see particular liquor bottles wrapped in a particular colored handkerchief with a particular prayer or chant, if you will, attached to it. So my dad drew a bath. He put me in this bath. He more or less baptized me with this particular alcohol wrapped in a red handkerchief, said some things. I lay down. I wake up the next day. I step on the scale. I'm 130 pounds. Well, 170.
40 pounds in one day?
To 130. Okay, within that next. Now, that vomiting section from both ends, that was going on for about 2.5 hours straight, nonstop. Nonstop. So, my dad wakes up. I wake up. He's like, you feel better? I'm like, yep. He grabs a machete. We walk down to the end of the driveway where all the merchants are, and this particular lady's out there selling her shit. Taps her on the shoulder. When she turns around and sees me, she's dark-skinned. She's dark-skinned. When she sees me, she turned gray. And my dad proceeded to, I won't say what he did with the machete, but y'all know what time it is. And let everybody know you don't fuck with any of these kids. Now, mind you, I told you I was 170 motherfucking pounds to 130. And all she did was touch me. That slap was all she needed. She knew my family name. So, when you're doing certain things involving those kind of things, like especially with Serpent and the Rainbow. There's a lot of things they can do with you. They have your name. If they made any kind of contact with you, they can do anything. Whether you believe or not, they can do anything. As far as like saints and spirits are concerned, like when you think of religion, you're always hearing about angels. In that religion, only 7 of those angels have names. The rest of them do not. There's a ton of them. Think of every story that you might have heard from the Bible and what those angels had to do for God in the Bible. Ask yourself as a person, would you really want to meet an angel? Does an angel really have your best interest at heart?
Angels have always been kind of jealous of humans, sort of in the stories anyway, and most of the lore that you hear and read.
Angels, like the dead, are jealous of the living because they want to live. There's certain, there's other aspects because,
It's funny that you mentioned that because, if you look at the King James version of the Bible, it's the one who translated it. He's actually, wrote demonology books prior to that. You can look it up on Wikipedia that it's the same dude that wrote a bunch of demonology prior to translating the Bible. And I'm not saying that has any kind of correlation. You can translate the Bible very well by, still being whoever the hell you want to be. But it's just kind of weird. It's like, why is that the circle that's in? But if you look at the Lesser Key of Solomon, a lot of the entities and the different things that are mentioned in there are, mentioned as cherubim or seraphim or different orders of angels. And, it brings it back to the fall and when that happened and how that happened. And a lot of it ties in. But it's funny that, because you were mentioning that as far as like in Santeria, the different things that you're able to do. There's, throughout time, there's been different cultures that, the gypsies have gypsy curses that do the same thing. The movie Thinner.
Sir? Thinner.
Stephen King, for what it's worth, I'm not a big fan of him himself, but as far as his depth of knowledge, as far as the occult goes, is a very knowledgeable guy. So you got to think that a lot of the stories that he writes comes from a place of knowledge.
Exactly.
Yep.
Because like with the 7 angels, Satan has his 7 demons. Only those have names, and then there are armies behind those. So essentially, they're just generals. Now you move on to, saints, spirits, angels, and what you can do with those. Now, it was said after the first fall, there was a second war in heaven. And because of that war, heaven's gates have been closed up until, till now. So those that are able or who are worthy of going to a better place aren't able to go. So they're stuck here. Hell's open 24/7, so, there's no problem for him, so he's good to go. So with all these spirits roaming around, again, like the angels, all the dead want to do is live. They're jealous of us living. Some of them are strong enough to possess, if you will. Because when you look at certain situations, certain things that happen in the news or in real life, you'll always hear a backstory saying, I've known this person for so long and never thought he would be capable of something like this. You know what I mean? Just out of the blue, something like that happens. You just start with voodoo. You just really don't want to fuck around with that because there's a price to everything. We all have. We all have what your guardian angels essentially are your ancestors that have passed on.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
They're protecting the bloodline. So any hairy situation you might have gotten out of, hey, thank your ancestor. You might be thanking the wrong person. You should be thanking your ancestors. They're the ones looking out for you. When I walk into a Sato priest house or warlock, if you will, they can see my backup. Those that practice can see who's rolling with me. Like I can see who's rolling with them. From the time that I was a child till now, I can see that shit. So without me having to practice, because, again, that comes with a price. There are certain bad saints that have, you don't want to call their name, because once you call their name, might be really, really hard to get rid of. You know what I mean? That's why. So, that's why Serpent in the Rainbow and the Sixth Sense. You know what I mean? That's why Serpent in the Rainbow and the Sixth Sense kind of, it scares me the most because, that just, the Serpent in the Rainbow and the
clowns.
Dude,
Ghost
I gotta
and
watch
Voodoo.
this movie.
Yeah, you do.
I haven't seen this movie.
Yeah.
Like Ghost and Clowns really got me fucked up. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's my top 5. It, Serpent in the Rainbow, Exorcist, The Sixth Sense, and Ghost Ship.
It's a good 5. It's a good 5.
I loved everybody's picks. Really loved your stories. Now, hey man, moving on since we got to wrap things up.
Hey, before we move on, man, can I throw something out here, bro? And I don't want y'all to judge me. I'm sorry. I've never seen the original Exorcist.
Oh, you definitely got to watch that, brother.
It probably won't scare you now.
I'm so saying, I don't think it would even hit like it's supposed to, Because I've seen
it's
so
funny
many
you
other
mentioned that,
things.
dude. I was talking to my mom the other night about horror movies because I told her we were doing the podcast and stuff, and she's like, "Have you even seen Exorcist?" And I was like, "Look, Mom, by now I've seen all of the Exorcist, just not in chronological order. Like I know the exact. I've seen the fucking movies. I just haven't seen the scenes as they happen. So I mean, we've all seen The Exorcist. We all know about The Exorcist. I've heard it's fucking terrifying. And if you have the time, but yeah, it's not one of those movies that age well where you're gonna sit there and be like, "This is fucking exciting."
Yes,
it's classic. Yeah.
It's a long movie. But before I move on,
a lot of movies get. I was just gonna say, a lot of movies are as good as they are because of when they come out, what's going on
at that time,
and where we are as people.
Because Exorcist was very controversial back then, extremely controversial back then.
Yeah, it didn't go well.
Anything to do with the church.
Now, before I go on, I did watch the Pope's Exorcist, Sean. One thing that made me uncomfortable in that movie, because it's a little boy that's possessed. I don't know if that's going to ruin it for anybody. His mom and his sister were sitting in the bed with him. He grabs his mom's boob, and his mom, pushes the boob away, and he grabs it again. "You never breastfed me, mother."
You never breastfed me, mommy.
Oh, my.
Now, I know the kid is possessed in the movie, but I'm still seeing a kid grabbing his mom's boob, because that's what
Yeah.
So that made me uncomfortable. I just wanted to mention that. I didn't want to harp on it. It was weird.
I think that's kind of what they were going for. I don't think that they had a lot more as far as edgy goes, and that's kind of the one thing that they were like, let's make this audience squeamish. Yeah, it did the
I don't
job.
like much with kids at all. Like, actually, to be honest with you, that was one of the things about Pet Sematary, the original one, that really bothered me when I was younger. There's just a lot of things when it comes to like kids and death and stuff. It fucks with me. You know what I mean? Like, it's harder for me to enjoy it.
That's why that movie was so fucking dreadful.
Yes.
Because, the fact that they had that kind of thing going on, and those kids were extremely young.
Like my dad, like, is kind of like, he's kind of like quasi, like, he kind of opposes the Hunger Games because it sort of like, it puts kids on display as being killed. You know what I mean? Like that. It's like that.
Before I go to this list, I want to give one.
Totally weird.
I want to give one horror movie a shout out that should always get a shout out. Tales from the Hood.
I've been waiting for you boys.
Boom. Check it out if you haven't seen it.
I love that movie.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Oh, it's a
You know
good
what I'm
one.
saying? Now,
It's a bunch of short stories.
these are projects. I saw a list. These are projects we get to look forward to 2024, 2025. Hopefully the strike isn't going to hinder these things. But Scream, The Legacy Ends, I believe is coming out in 2025. I got a date on that one. The Black Phone 2.
7?
The Black Phone 1 was pretty good.
Yeah, that was good.
It was.
Final Destination 6.
Stop.
For real?
Constantine 2.
Are you surprised?
We got Constantine 2.
Hey, I went
Yep.
to Final Destinations, bro.
Me too.
Movies
Me
are
too.
terrible, but I love
I like
yeah, both of
Constantine.
those.
I've been waiting for this. He's been waiting
Yeah.
for a good script. So
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
We have I Am Legend Chapter 2. Will Smith, Michael B. Jordan will be in that one.
Okay.
We have The Crow,
like Michael B.
Nevermore. Bill Skarsgård is going to be in that one.
seeing that, looking forward to it.
Arachnophobia. I don't know if anyone has ever seen Arachnophobia
What?
from back.
The
I think it was
original
like-
Horrors.
The original
Yeah,
is
well-
fucking awesome.
The original is
Yeah.
great.
I forgot
great.
how much it scared me.
We have
There-
Twisters coming out.
What?
Another Tristan?
Twisters. I'm looking forward to that one.
Stop.
We have The Conjuring, Last Rites.
Oh,
We have Furiosa. I don't know what that's about, but Anna Taylor-Joy
isn't it?
and Chris Hemsworth are going to be in that one.
It's like
I
a
like
Mad
Taylor-Joy.
It's like the
Yeah,
Mad
yeah,
Max
she's great.
prequel or something
Yeah,
like that.
she's nice.
Oh, that's a Mad Max sequel?
Or like a prequel.
Okay,
I think it's
that
a
makes
prequel.
sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
What were you talking about right before the Taylor-Joy one? There was one you mentioned. It was.
The Conjuring, Last Rites.
Oh yeah. I was gonna. I just wanted to throw it in. You had an honorable mention on Go Movies. Man, I watched that movie, The Nun. I hate the entire series now. That movie is stupid. I'm sorry. I know you like it. That's right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know you like it. I just realized that as I was saying it, I was like, that's right. He liked The Nun.
I don't know why, but I did.
Everybody does. Everybody does. It went very well. I didn't.
And then we have The Joker 2, which is going to be a musical. I don't know.
Yeah, with Gaga.
Yeah. And we have
Yeah.
Avatar, The
Yeah.
Sea Bear, coming out December 24.
Yeah.
Man, I still ain't seen the second one. I won't need it.
Mm-hmm. We have Captain
Why
America,
not?
New World Order. I'm ready to see that one.
Yeah.
We have Gladiator Part 2.
Russell Crowe?
Russell Crowe will be in this.
Is he gonna have that accent?
sure.
Is he gonna have that?
I'm hoping he goes with the Pope's accent this time. Because, he's supposed to be a Spaniard. So, hopefully, hopefully he
this
uses
one
the
they're,
accent.
Defend me. My faith does not require defense.
And they're bringing his son in, and I believe Pedro Pascal plays his son.
So hold up. Here's what I need to ask. In the first one, I remember his wife and son being hung and buried.
Yeah.
Did he have an outside? You know, these motherfuckers have outside babies. So
Yeah,
whatever that is.
They're just like, oh, did we do that? Oh, god damn it.
Mhm. Then we have a quiet.
His son that he had with this guy, with Joaquin's chick. That was actually his son.
that's right.
Oh,
That
that's
was
right.
his son. So it's him growing up, and it's played by Pedro
that's right.
Pascal.
Makes sense.
He's in my belly.
Makes sense. And then we have A Quiet Place coming out. We have Blade
Another
to look
Quiet
forward
Place?
to. Another Quiet Place.
3. Wow.
Yo, I heard they
Mufasa.
fired this guy.
Who?
The guy that they brought in for Snipes. Is he still doing it? The guy that played Morpheus.
He's supposed to be. I can't remember
Yeah,
his
I
name.
thought that-
Fishburne?
No.
Lawrence Fishburne?
Marcus, what's his
It's
name
younger
again?
guy.
Oh, the guy that...
Huh?
He was in Luke Cage. The
Who,
guy that's gonna
Blade?
play Blade.
Oh, the Luke Cage guy.
Oh, I can't say his name. I don't even want to.
Oh, this is terrible.
I know his
Oh,
last
we
name
are
is Ali.
terrible.
I don't want to
There we
butcher
go,
it,
bro.
bro.
We'll just say
Is
Mr. Ali, but let
Is
me
it
speed this up.
Marshala?
Probably.
I was saying I already butchered it, bro. I don't want to.
So after
He said I'm
Blade,
not gonna fuck him up now.
after Blade, we have Mufasa. We have
Yeah,
Inside
I
Out
saw
Part
that.
2, Sonic Part 3, another Garfield movie,
Goodness.
Despicable Me Part 4,
Okay.
Kung Fu Panda 4, Ballerina,
I get it.
Beetlejuice Part 2. I believe Jenna
Yeah.
Ortega is going to be in that
Definitely
one.
looking forward to
Yeah.
that.
I would
Yeah,
definitely
she
see
is.
that.
Yeah,
she
Star
is.
Wars X, Godzilla, Kong, The New Empire,
On that Garfield movie.
Venom 3. I don't know why.
I know why.
There's a serious name now.
What?
You know what?
Hardy is going to be in that one again?
Of course, yeah.
Probably.
I think
And then-
she's contracted into.
And then Max, the streaming series, is going to have Welcome to Derry with Pennywise the Clown.
Yes.
We're going to
Yeah,
I'm
have,
looking forward to that. It's supposed to bridge together a lot of his like verse.
and then we're going to have Alien 5 with Sigourney Weaver. We're going to have District 10, Smile Part 2, The Simpson Movie Part 2, Frozen 3, Mortal Kombat Part 2, and then we're also going to have The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and finally the final Marvel movie, Thunderbolts. So yes, we have that to look forward to. And again, thanks
More
again for
Hunger
joining.
Games?
Yeah, more Hunger Games. This is a prequel to the Hunger Games.
As they ride that dead horse.
Mhm.
It's really kick it.
Yeah, no.
As long as Jennifer Lawrence isn't in
They
it.
gotta ride that
He's
to
not.
the end.
She's not.
But that is all the time we have, folks. Thanks again for joining us. If you guys are looking for any artwork, please check my nephew Nate out. His info is in our bio. Feel free to hit him up with anything you need.
Yes, sir. And check out our, check out our intro, outro track. Track is called Trap Sex by Nish. You can find his music on SoundCloud and YouTube.
Absolutely. Signing off, Rick, Gabe, Sean, Marcus, and I'm Al. Peace.
Later.